Welcome to the presentation of Mangrove-Protocol done by me, Florian, for the openDefi hackathon. I was building on Secret Network and I would like to walk you through the idea and what I did during the hackathon. So the vision of the whole thing is that Mangrove-Protocol could be some kind of underlying motor and underlying technology that generates some value for the user in a collaborative fashion and also provides some surplus that you are able to funnel into different systems that are connected to the protocol. So similar to like the mangrove that exists in the real world, we're looking at something where we work a lot in collaborative spaces, we use a lot of synergies, and by this are enabling yields and workings that are better than what you could reach alone. So the overall idea is that we start with the user who could deposit some of his or her secret into the protocol. It will end up in an entry pool and the user will receive a mangrove token from this transaction. And this entry pool will deposit the secret into the stable pool. And the interesting part here is that the price of a single mangrove token depends on the total value that is locked in the protocol. So the more value in here is, the higher the price of a token is. And at some point, the user can always sell their mangrove tokens and receive the secret amount that is the price at the current moment. Another consideration that is not implemented yet is to have some arbitrage on this. So I could, when I buy in as a user, I will pay a tiny bit more than the current normal price. And when cashing out, I will receive a tiny bit less, which would incentivize secondary markets for this token. All of this could, of course, be controlled by some kind of governance on chain and can be used to like incentivize trading the tokens on the contract versus on secondary markets. The interesting part now is on the right side. So the stable pool receives some secret and based on different strategies that are implemented is turning those secret into something that generates a long-term yield. So what we did for this hackathon is implementing a strategy based on Cephai staking. So we're using secret swap for this, and this stable pool would transport this secret into the swap pool, would swap it to Cephai, would stake it, and then would also do daily compounding and reinvesting the gains from the strategy. What's interesting here now is if we have more than one user, we still only need a single transaction to do this as we are controlling it from a smart contract. So even if we are kind of circling 100% of the gains that you would also have as a single user, we are still generating some kind of surplus. Because imagine that if we do have 100 users on the platform, instead of doing 100 transactions, we only need to do one. So we are kind of saving the transaction fee of 99 transactions. And the idea of this protocol is that we are taking this surplus and we put it in something that we call the growth pool. For now, the growth pool acts as some kind of vesting mechanism by bringing 10% of its value back into the stable pool, which would, of course, increase the gains that you're having. So this should generate some APYs that are higher than what you would get when staking alone on the secret swap, as well as for the future, allowing what we call outward flows. So to have applications connecting to the platform and being able to incentivize your applications by having some trickle charge getting out of this value proposition. Talking about value proposition, so what we see people doing with this, we have on the left side the single users. And as a single user, I come to the platform and I do want to stake my secret for some mangrove tokens. I will receive at least the same APY as I would receive if I do it for myself. Plus, given all these mechanics that are in place to kind of increase the gains that you're having, increase the yield that you get over time, the expectation is that I do receive more than I would alone, and I can always sell my Mangrove token to realize those yields that I had or that the pool had while I was holding the token. And on the right side, we do have like entities that could be dApp developers or companies or literally like anyone being on the secret network ecosystem. And one idea how to include this entity into the protocol would that they could, for example, stake an amount of secret to get access to this ecosystem, which would be used to boost the pool that we are investing from. And in return, you would receive the connection to this growth pool that would allow you to incentivize your own applications. Example here, given secret heroes, what I could do is I could put some secrets into the pool to like help with the staking, and in turn, I will receive the trigger charge that I could use to pay the winners of a fight. So to give them something very small in return, but to have like a continuous value generation. So what was done during the hackathon, the current implementation is still very prototypic, very centralized. The Cephii staking mechanism was implemented. It is using the secret swap on the testnet right now to stake Cephii. We do a daily compounding of the yields. This could also be parameterized to do it fewer times or more often. And we batch transactions together. So regardless of how many users we have on the platform, we only need one transaction per day to do all this. The whole thing is running from a hot wallet that is connected to an Azure function. And currently we store the contributions centrally in a database. So like there is still a lot of trust involved into the Azure platform and also in the end into me, because I do, of course, have access to this database. Which brings us to the next steps. So the first and most important thing is to get rid of all the centralized aspects. So that would mean replacing this hot wallet and Azure function with a secret contract, which in turns mean that all these calls that are currently done with secret.js needs to be translated into Cosmos messages. And instead of firing them off from a backend function, they would be emitted from the secret contract. And then the second part is finishing up the implementation of the SNIPS 20 token. There is already some work done here, but it's not yet complete. Implementing the buy-in and sellout function, so that would mean to get a good query how to estimate the value of the pool, and then give users the ability to buy in Mangrove tokens and to sell them again for the right amount of secret. Then next step, if those two things are in place, would be actually deployment to mainnet, running it with a concrete implementations of the Cephii token and the secret swap, and then have a selected number of users on the platform with small amounts and just test it, gather some data, see where we're ending up with our yields, and if the whole idea is actually fruitful. If this all goes well, the outlook for midterm future would be to, like, of course, implement different value generating strategies. Like you could also think of secret staking. You could also implement liquidity provider pairs that have a higher risk but also higher reward. Then to use the Mangrove token to build up some DAO structure around this so that people can vote and discuss on chain, like how they would, the strategies to be distributed, like how many percent of what you put in goes into which strategy. If there are different applications that receive tokens from the growth pool, like how many tokens would you give to which application and so forth. Third point is a problem that is to be expected. So as we are using contracts that are out of our control, like Cephii and the secret swap, it might be interesting to invest in some kind of contract registry or contract discovery mechanism because if those contracts ever upgrade, we would need to kind of be aware of this and be able to react to this. And then most interesting point, of course, is expanding this ecosystem to see if other people are interested in working with this and how you could build more loops and more mechanisms to make it more stable and to really turn it into some kind of engine that is running in the lower parts of the network and fueling a lot of applications and bringing a lot of speed to applications on the secret network. And that's about it with the presentation. And to wrap things up, I would like to give you a short demo. So I'm calling my function, and it's currently being called over a web request. Of course, could also be done with a timer, which is what we use for compounding right now. And yeah, I get like simple response back that is on testnet. I started with 1,000 Sapphire test tokens, and we see that we have quite a few of those staked, and have some estimation what the reward in 10,000 blocks will be. So this is the current state to start working from. Of course, next step would be like front ends and presenting the information to the users. But this was already a successful test of the mechanics, and it seems that it is working in a way that we envisioned it. So really looking forward to see where we can take all of this.